Okay, we're live on YouTube. That's. Let me just post the link in the channel. Okay, we're live on YouTube. Okay, I think we're all set to start. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا أيها الإخوة والأخوات، أرحبكم جميعا في درسنا الخامس في شرح كتاب العربية بين يديك، ونبدأ اليوم إن شاء الله الوحدة الثالثة السكن. Today we're going to start the third unit called a second residence. طيب نقول بسم الله. طيب this is the live class 5 actually, not 3. Here we are. So week 3 overview. First, what are we going to learn? So we always mention the learning objectives and the subjects or the things we're gonna this week is gonna go be about, inshallah. So this week we're gonna be talking about a second residence, and the theme for this week is residence, and some of the sub themes are the ability or asking about another person's residence in terms of its place, type of residence, or number, maybe number of the house or the number of the floor they live on. Likewise, it's about searching for a place of residence as well. If you move to an Arab country, then obviously the first thing you have to look for is for a roof above your head. صح? So how do you go about asking about a place of residence when you make it to an Arab country? And how do you ask about the apartment or the house, and how do you find it? Okay, and obviously after you get the place of residence or the house or place you're going to live, you're going to need to furnish the house, furnish the place. So you have to know how to ask about some things that you need, how to request those things that you need, such as furniture or the number of rooms in the house, and so on and so forth. Okay, so requesting things is also one of the main themes of this unit. In terms of vocabulary, then the core vocabulary is about rooms in the house, different rooms in the house, and the house furniture. So those are the two main categories of new words you're going to learn in this unit. And the supplemental vocabulary is about the days of the week, 7 days of the week in Arabic, how do you say them? And in terms of themed vocabulary, then this unit is kind of related to many themes. We have houseware, very much related to it. So for this themed vocabulary, I mentioned it for those of you that want to learn more words that are related to this unit. Okay, so all the themed vocabulary, it's there on Quizlet. You can access it. So I would advise you to navigate to theme 6, theme 9, theme 12, and theme 13. Theme 6 is about houseware, theme 9 is about furniture, theme 12 is about adjectives. So adjectives that you can use to describe rooms, furniture, or these sort of things. And theme 13, which is about frequently used items, and I found that most of those items are household objects. Okay, those are the items we use the most. In terms of grammar, then we are going to learn a few more interrogative words. Okay, so these interrogative words, we're not done with them yet. These question words, we've done a lot of them so far, but there's still a few left. Today we're going to learn 2 new ones, inshallah. We're also going to talk a bit more about verbs, which we've started with last week. This week we're going to learn a bit more about verbs, And today we're going to introduce something that is very fundamental to Arabic. Arabic grammatical cases, also known as i'rab, which some of you might be familiar with, inshallah ta'ala. So this is a quick overview of what we are going to learn this week. So we start off with the projected learning outcomes. Then this week, by the end of this week, you should be able to recall another 31 core vocabulary. In terms of grammar, again, those interrogative words kam and ay, and understanding the role of Arabic grammatical cases. In terms of comprehension, then you should develop the ability to comprehend written and spoken Arabic in your day-to-day interactions with speakers of the language when talking about your place of residence particularly. And in terms of pronunciation, then this week it's all about recognizing and correctly pronouncing the letter ha and ha, one of those classic sounds that English speakers struggle with. So please pay close attention to this week's sounds, ha and ha. Obviously, the way I've written them over here in English, the way I've transliterated them, then the convention normally is that the ha has a small dot underneath, as you can see over here, this small dot, to differentiate it from the ha, because obviously ha doesn't exist in the English language. And in terms of speaking skills, then you will be able to initiate conversations in Arabic with confidence by talking about your place of residence, asking about another person's place of residence, and requesting things that you need. Okay? Mumtaz. Writing skills, not yet. You will start writing from next week onwards, inshallah ta'ala. And one of the students actually requested from me to show and demonstrate how to use the Arabic keyboard online, or the online Arabic keyboards. Well, there are quite a few websites you can use for that. Some are more user-friendly than others. I remember suggesting one particular one when we did the Quran reading course. Let's see if I can find it again. This one, I would advise, this one wasn't the most user-friendly, to be honest. This one over here, it's quite unique, and it's okay as a beginner, but one of the brothers posted a link to it last time, like a couple of weeks ago, or at the beginning of the course in the Telegram group. But I did point out that even though this particular keyboard is easier, and you might feel like it's going to save you time because it is actually in the order of the Arabic alphabet, as you can see, alif, ba, ta, tha, jim, ha, kha, up until ya. Okay, so one might feel like this is easier to use because you can find the letters easier if you know the order of the Arabic alphabet. However, I strongly advise against these kind of tactics. Why? Because this course, my dear brothers and sisters, is about acquiring skills that will help you in your day-to-day lives, practical lives in the Arabic language. And if we speak practically, yes, you're not going to find a keyboard that's laid out like this. Okay? Just the way that the English keyboard has a specific layout, all of the Arabic keyboards out there have a specific layout, and this is not that layout. Okay, so we have the QWERTY layout for English, AZERTY for those that speak French. Okay, so these layouts, you're used to it now when you type English. You should ask yourself, would you advise someone who's new to learning English, would you advise him to use a keyboard that is laid out A, B, C, D, E, F, G until the end of the alphabet? You wouldn't. Why? Because you know that even though they might be doing a favor to their current self or their present self, they are in essence short selling their future self. Because tomorrow when they move to an Arab country, tomorrow when they buy an actual real keyboard, all of that practice that they did on this dummy keyboard is not going to benefit them, and they have to start from scratch again, getting used to different layouts. As a matter of fact, since they're used to this layout, this fake layout over here, is going to be even a more steep learning curve to unlearn the old layout and learn the real layout. So it's going to be even more difficult. So this doesn't only apply to this, my dear brothers and sisters. It applies to everything you're going to do on this course. Yes, there are things that are going to be difficult, uncomfortable, things you've never done before. But everything and all the skills that you want to build in your in terms of Arabic language, then all of them require hard work and practice and doing things that are uncomfortable. Specifically, the core skills. Okay, we've talked about the 4 skills everyone talks about: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Everybody mentions these. But we also mentioned some forgotten skills that people overlook, which are a foundation to these bigger skills, if you like. So we have sound recognition. Nobody talks about that. We have handwriting or typing. Nobody talks about that. We have letter recognition, not mixing up between the ya and the ta. Nobody talks about that. Then we have pronunciation, pronouncing the letters properly. Nobody focuses on that. But I personally believe that these forgotten skills are the basis for the bigger skills of speaking, writing, speaking, i.e. expression, writing, i.e. expression, listening, i.e. comprehension, and reading, i.e. comprehension. So those bigger skills of expression and comprehension, they are actually built on these smaller skills which people overlook. And this is one of them, Arabic typing. So how are you going to express yourself in writing if you can't even type on an Arabic keyboard? It doesn't make sense. How are you going to express yourself in Arabic if you can't even write in Arabic with a pen? You can't, okay? Just the way that you can't have a conversation in Arabic if you can't pronounce the sounds. Just the way that you won't understand someone if you can't even differentiate between the qaf and the kaf, or the ha and the ha, or the ain and the hamza that he's pronouncing. Okay? Sorry, that was a long reminder. Anyway, so that's this. So I didn't even mention, don't use this one. All right? That's my advice. Instead, hopefully I can find the one that we're used to. So we had, it's not this one, Lexi logos. It must be this one. Yeah, this is the one. This is one of the ones that I found to be very user friendly. It's better than the first one that we've seen, where the buttons are just way too small. Okay, here you have some big buttons, and as a matter of fact, even when you start typing, I think it gives you suggestions. So let's write kitab, for example. Kitab. Yeah, so yeah, it's good. This one's quite good. You have transliteration that you can turn on. I don't know. Yeah, with transliteration, you can basically type. You can basically type English. You can type Arabic by typing English. Again, not a good idea. So you can write kitab like that, and it's gonna give you options here. You can choose the one that you want. Okay, but again, I don't advise with that. I don't know, on and off. Yeah, that's turning the keyboard on and off. Yeah, that's it. So I advise with this one. So let me post the link to this. This is actually one that I found very... Obviously, it doesn't beat having an Arabic keyboard at home. Okay? And if you're using the mobile, then alhamdulillah, it's much easier. Because the keyboards, Arabic keyboards, are built into the mobile software. In Google, Android and iOS. And one of the sisters, I remember, she posted a video on how to use the keyboard. If you don't know it, then inshallah we can repost the video, inshallah ta'ala. Okay? But if you're using the computer, then if you don't have an Arabic physical keyboard, then you want to use this online keyboard that I've just sent. Okay? Mumtaz. So that's when it comes to writing skills. So you better familiarize yourself with this, because from next week onwards, a lot of the homework is going to involve writing sentences. Okay? Which you can... which are mainly based on the text itself. Don't be afraid, you can do it inshallah, but it does involve a lot of typing. The pre-unit assignments, sorry, I've posted them a bit late this week. I completely forgot about it, so for that reason I've increased the due date to tomorrow inshallah, even though they should have been normally submitted by now, but because of the fact that I was late, I've postponed the due date. Okay, so going on to today's class, then obviously let's start with listening to the dialogues first and foremost. And as we listen to each dialogue, these template sentences which the dialogues consist of, I want you to pay close attention to it, because I'm going to ask you if you notice something. I'm going to say to you, what do you notice? Okay, so based on what you've learned so far, you're going to find a few things that are slightly different. Okay, and I want you to pay close attention to that. Okay, I want you to pay close attention to the differences that you can see. Okay, so again, it's a form of pre-assessment to make sure you get the brain juices flowing before we actually explain things. Okay, I'd rather you figure it out for yourself. Okay, طيب. Let's share the PowerPoint slide. Okay, Nigel, if there are any issues, just unmute yourself and let me know, inshallah. Okay?
الوحدة الثالثة.
Hope all of you can hear it.
السكن.
Okay, الوحدة الثالثة السكن. Can all of you hear it, by the way?
Yes, Ustad, we can hear it.
Okay, ممتاز. Okay.
الوحدة الثالثة. السكن.
الوحدة الثالثة. السكن. الدرس 19. الحوار الأول. انظر واستمع.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
أين تسكن؟
أسكن في حي المطار. وأين تسكن أنت؟
أسكن في حي الجامعة.
هل تسكن في بيت؟
نعم، أسكن في بيت. هل تسكن في بيت؟
لا، أسكن في شقة.
ما رقم شقتك؟
5. وما رقم بيتك؟
9.
والآن جاء دورك.
طيب ممتاز. So that was the first conversation. Okay, and the question is, we have a few sentences there. One of them was, I'll just point at it on the slide itself.
انظر واستمع وأعد.
Okay, we have أين تسكن. Okay, so here we have a new word called, no, sorry, it's not a new word. We've done أين before. Sorry, we've done أين before. But here we have a new use of أين, which is أين followed by a verb. Okay, before it was always followed by a noun. أين محمد, أين النظارة, من أين أنت. But here we have أين followed by a verb. So he's asking not about the whereabouts of the verb, he's asking about where the verb took place or is taking place or will take place in the future, depending on the tense, obviously. Okay, so we can ask about a verb's whereabouts. Okay, because a verb, like we mentioned last time, it takes place at a specific time, at a specific place. Okay, so these two questions, أين and متى, where and when, are two words that are always suitable or valid when it comes to verbs, because every verb has a where and a when. Every verb. Okay, طيب, so أين تسكن, where do you live? Okay, we notice here the ta in front of the تسكن. Yes, so far we've done in the previous unit, we've done verbs such as أين سعد, سعد في الحمام يتوضأ. Okay, أين سعيدة, سعيدة في المصلى تصلي. Okay. Now here we have a ta. أين تسكن. What does this ta mean? Does it mean where does she live? As in سعيدة تصلي? What does it mean? That's a question. So what does this ta denote? You can put it in Zoom chat, inshallah. Yes. So it denotes the second person male. As in you for males. Okay? Masculine. Okay? ممتاز. So أين تسكن? Where do you live? However, I can also say أين تسكن for a female third person. So here what do we have? We have overlap. We have overlap. And this is the only place when it comes to all of the different pronouns in the Arabic language, specifically when it comes to verbs, this is the only place where there is some level of overlap, whereby the verb looks the exact same and it can be used for two separate personal pronouns, or it can refer to two separate entities. Okay? So for example, I can say تشرب الحليب. You're drinking milk, for example. Okay? Or تسكن في الرياض. I'm addressing you. But I can also say تسكن في الرياض while I'm talking about Fatima or Aisha or Zainab. Okay? تسكن في الرياض, i.e. she lives in Riyadh. So there is some kind of overlap here. However, generally speaking, it doesn't cause confusion. Why? Because it's highly unlikely that these two scenarios get mixed up. It's highly unlikely that addressing a male can be confused for talking about a female. Okay, so there's too much difference here. The scenario is so much different. One is talking about someone who is in front of you, you're addressing. The other one is talking about someone else as a third person. One is about a male, the other one is about a female. Okay, so that's the reason why Arabs, they don't get confused with this particular structure, even though there is some overlap. Okay, so I hope that's clear. So أين تسكن? Okay, it can mean where do you live for male. It can also mean where does she live. So there's overlap there. Okay, so that you don't get confused with what we've done before in the second unit, last week, when we said something like سعيدة في المصلى تصلي. Okay, I can say أين تصلي. أين تصلي, it could have both meanings. It could mean where do you pray, and it could also mean where does she pray. It could mean both. However, like I said, it's highly unlikely that those two scenarios get mixed up. Okay, so أين تسكن؟ أسكن في حي المطار. وأين تسكن أنت؟ أسكن في حي الجامعة. So all of this is pretty straightforward. There's something else that we notice here. We got something new here. أسكن. So what does أسكن stand for then? So 1 minute. We've done يصلي before. We've done سعيدة تصلي as well. Here we've learned also أنت تصلي. Okay, so what is أصلي then with the hamza? أصلي. I'm trying to use a verb we've done before. أسكن is the verb over here, just using a different verb, praying. What would it mean if I say أصلي? What would the meaning be of that? You can post it on the chat. I am praying. Okay, so again, that's something new that we've learned. صح? أصلي means I am praying. Okay, so far we have he is praying, she is praying, you are praying for male, and أصلي, I am praying. So we have four verb objects, subjects so far. Okay, طيب ممتاز. هل تسكن في بيت? This is straightforward. There is something we notice here, which is that the word هل, the interrogative word هل, this is also the first time that it's being used for a verb. Okay, we haven't seen that before, have we? So most interrogative words, they can be used for verbs and nouns. They can be followed by a verb or a noun. Not all of them, but most of them, yes. So the interrogative word ma can't be followed by a verb, and if it does, it would have a different meaning. Okay, so you can't say, for example, ما تسكن. Okay, what do you live? ولا ما تشرب. What do you drink? لا, you can't say that. Okay, in that case, we'd say ماذا تشرب. Okay, we haven't covered that yet, but we'll see that inshallah soon. Okay, so here we have هل تسكن. Do you live في بيت, in a house? Okay, so هل is not something new, is it? It's not something new. Then we have نعم. We know مع النعم already, we've done that before. أسكن في بيت. وهل تسكن في بيت, and do you live in a house? لا, أسكن في شقة. So here we have لا, negation. We haven't formally seen this before. This is the first time we're covering this word لا, but I'm sure that most of you know it. لا means no. And please pay attention to the comma over here. Please pay attention to the comma over here. Because if you say لا أسكن في شقة, you're negating that you live in an apartment. But when you say لا and you stop, and then you say أسكن في شقة, you're affirming that you live in an apartment or a شقة. Okay? So there's a big difference here. So when you say لا over here, it is actually an answer to the previous question, which means that the remainder of the sentence is kind of like implied. So هل تسكن في بيت؟ لا. In other words, لا أسكن في بيت. I don't live in a house. Rather, أسكن في شقة. I live in an apartment. If we get rid of this comma, the meaning would be completely opposite. Okay? So you have to be careful. That's why even in the Quran as well, when you say لا, some places you have to stop. Because if you continue, instead of affirming it, you're negating it. Okay? فلا يحزنك قولهم. You have to stop there. إن العزة لله جميعا. Otherwise you would be negating that statement Allah has made in the second part of the ayah. ما رقم شقتك? Okay, ما, we've done that before. What is رقم شقتك? The number of your apartment. رقم شقتك. Oh, here we have two مضاف إليهs right after each other. We've done مضاف إليه last time, right? Here we got two of them right after each other. Okay, what's the number of your house? Okay, so رقم شقتك. So رقم is مضاف إليه, رق is مضاف, شقتك is شقة, شقتي is مضاف إليه, and the ka is also مضاف إليه. In other words, it's kind of like saying رسول رسول الله, the messenger of the messenger of Allah. So we know that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for example, he has sent messengers to the different empires. He sent one to Rome, and he sent one to Egypt, and he sent one to Sham, and what's it called, Furs, صح? So such an individual, if you look at the hadiths, he's called Rasulu Rasulillah, the messenger of Allah. So this is similar here. Raqmu shaqqatik, the number of your house. Your is a what's it called, a possessive pronoun, okay, which means it's mudaf ilayh, the number of your house. Okay, what did he say? خمسة. Okay, ما رقم بيتك was the number of your, ما رقم شقتك was the number of your apartment. He said خمسة. ما رقم بيتك was the number of your house. تسعة. Okay, are there any questions? Of course, these grammatical concepts and stuff, they need a bit of practice for it to become clear. But inshallah it will clear up. طيب, here we have the vocabulary,
الوحدة
which
الثالثة.
I believe most of you are familiar with if you've done the pre-unit assignments. So I'm not going to spend much time on that. They're pretty self-explanatory, and you also have the images. If there's any particular word that you don't understand, then please write it in the Zoom chat and I will explain. So we have بيت, شقة, رقم, حي, يسكن, لا, المطار, الجامعة. So these are two places. So far we've got three places. We've had masjid last week, and this week another two places outside the house, المطار and الجامعة. Okay, المطار being the airport. What is حي? حي means neighborhood. حي means neighborhood. Okay, طيب, ممتاز. Going on to the next dialogue.
الوحدة الثالثة. السكن. الدرس 20.
الحوار الثاني. انظر واستمع.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
أريد شقة من فضلك.
لدينا شقة جميلة.
كم غرفة في الشقة؟
في الشقة 5 غرف.
في أي دور الشقة؟
الشقة في الدور الخامس.
أريد مشاهدة الشقة.
تفضل، ادخل. هذه هي الشقة.
هذه شقة جميلة.
والآن جاء دورك.
Okay, so here we have another conversation, and what do we notice? Okay, so we have two guys. This guy, he's looking for a house. Okay, so he said looking for a residence when you get to this country, this Arab-speaking country. So you ask for the apartment, you say uridu. So that's a new verb. I want. Uridu. Okay, uridu shaqqatan min fadlik. Min fadlik means please. So min fadlik, you don't really translate it separately. It comes together. It means please. Min fadlik. Okay, literally speaking means from your bounty. But let's just say please. Min fadlik. لدينا شقة جميلة. We have a beautiful apartment. We have a beautiful apartment. لدينا, then لدى means to have, and na means we. Okay, so again, just memorize it now for the way it is. لدينا, we have. Okay, and there's ways for you to make it or turn it into there's ways for you to turn it into what? Into first pronoun. Okay, first person pronouns such as I have, لدي. There's ways for you to turn it into second person, and so on and so forth. Okay. Okay. طيب. We have, one second. So we have, what's it called? لدي, لدينا, we have. So let's just stick with that. Let's not go into more detail. لدينا, we have. Okay. We'll talk about the other pronouns later. كم غرفة في الشقة. Now this is the interrogative word that we talked about, that we're going to learn about today, which is كم. كم. كم, you ask about something's quantity. Okay. And there is no one particular word in English that can take its place. Okay. There's not one word that can take its place. So كم means how much. كم means how much. So it's two words actually in English. Okay. So how many or how much, whichever one's correct in English. غرفة في الشقة. So you're asking about something's quantity. How many rooms are there in the apartment? في الشقة 5 غرف. So in the apartment there are 5 rooms. Okay. So again, we've already learned about the numbers. Okay. However, here we have the first time in this book we're seeing a word that is plural. غرف. غرف is plural for غرفة. Okay, so the first time this being introduced, plural words. Okay, and in Arabic, words can be made plural in different ways. Okay, but this is a way whereby the plural word is just completely different from the singular word, and you just have to memorize it that way. There's no other way around it. So غرفة is singular, غرف is plural. There's no way around it. There are no shortcuts. Okay, there are certain patterns you'll pick up over time. All right, but for now, you just have to memorize that غرفة, you want to make it plural, you say غرف. Okay. في أي دور الشقة. في أي دور, in which. أي. New one here. Which. أي means which. Okay. So كم means how much. أي means which. The difference between these two is, like we've mentioned before, interrogative words, we have determiners and we have the ones that are adverbs, right? The ones that explain or give more information about something. So كم is giving more information about something. You know what it is. You know it's a room. But you want to know how many rooms. You know it's a shaqqa, but you want to know how many rooms in the shaqqa. You want to know about an attribute of the shaqqa. Whereas when you say ayya, you don't know. You want the person to determine and tell you what it is. So there's a difference between what and how. For example, what, you don't know what is being talked about. How, you know it's being talked about, but you want to know more of the attributes, okay? So في أي دور, in which دور means level. الشقة or الشقة is the apartment, okay? So what are you looking for? You're looking for a number, okay? الشقة في الدور الخامس. The apartment is in the fifth floor. Here you're going to notice that we have the word خامس and not the word خمسة, okay? And this is very important to know the difference between خامس and خمسة, okay? Difference is that خامس means fifth, whereas خمسة means five, okay? And so there are different numbers. You got sequential numbers, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, okay? And then you have the actual the other numbers, yes? I think they're called ordinal numbers. You got ordinal numbers and the other ones, which is basically the actual number itself, right? So khamsa and khamis, what's the difference? Khamsa means five, that's the quantity. Khamis is the order, the sequence, fifth. So you have the first, second, third, fourth, fifth one. Okay, it doesn't mean 5 floors. Okay, the shaqqa, the apartment doesn't span 5 floors. It doesn't mean shaqqatu fi khamsa duwar. Okay, it doesn't mean the shaqqa spans 5 floors. No, it's on the 5th floor. So you should know the difference between these numbers. Okay. المستأجر, he says أريد مشاهدة الشقة. I want to see the shaqqa. مشاهدة means to see. This again is something new that we haven't seen before, called the masdar, and we won't go talk about it in detail. Just مشاهدة means to see, okay, or seeing. تفضل, welcome. أدخل as well is something new. تفضل is also something new, which is the imperative, the فعل أمر. He's requesting him to enter. أدخل. So it's different from أدخل. أدخل means I enter. أدخل means enter. You're commanding the person or requesting him to enter. Okay? Again, beyond the scope of this particular unit. So there are some things here. If I try to literally analyze and break down every single word in the dialogue, you're going to get confused. So just accept it the way it is. أدخل means enter. هذه هي الشقة. This is the شقة. هذه شقة جميلة. This is a beautiful شقة. And here we have again an adjective. جميلة is an adjective of شقة. What kind of shaqqa is it? A beautiful one, as opposed to an ugly one or an expensive one or a big one. Okay, so these are adjectives. Again, one of the first times we're seeing adjectives in this particular series, and I think most of you are familiar with what is meant by that. So shaqqatan jamila. Any questions?
الوحدة الثالثة.
These are the words. Jamila, دور,
الوحدة الثالثة.
تفضل. I think these words are straightforward. We've talked about them in detail. Let's see if there are any questions. Why how many rooms as opposed to how many rooms? Let me check which sentence you're talking about. So we have كم غرفة في الشقة, صح? So you're basically asking how come غرفة is not غرف? Why isn't it كم غرف في الشقة? Right? Yeah, that's just the way it is. Okay? غرف, we don't say كم غرف, we say كم غرفة. So that's just the way Arabic is, that when you use كم, yes, you don't follow it with a plural. Okay? And obviously when you say how many rooms, yes, you're assuming there's more than one room in the shaqqa. Who said every apartment is more than one room? Our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ used to live in a small house, right? And he didn't have multiple rooms. So I personally believe that the Arabic way is more accurate, yes? Because you can't, when you ask about something's quantity, you can't assume it's more than one. Okay, whereas in English, it's already the assumption is more than one. I would say to you, for example, how many children do you have? Okay, what if you have only one child, right? What if you have no children? Okay, but let's assume the minimum one child, if you have children, yes? Then why are you saying children? So I personally believe that the Arabic way of saying just one, keeping it singular until it's proven otherwise, I believe that's more accurate and Allah knows best. But that's how it is in Arabic. We say kam ghurfatan, kam baytan, kam, if you like, anything. is just singular. Okay. Yeah, definitely. If you're gonna translate it, you have to translate it using that language's structure. So you can't say كم غرفة في الشقة. You can't say how many room in the apartment. Okay, and that's why, again, I've mentioned this many times before. When you learn a bit of Arabic, you'll understand why Arabs speak English the way they speak English, right? That's typically the way an Arab speaker would have said it in English. They would say something like, how many room in the apartment? Yes, and you think to yourself, why did he say room? Why didn't he say rooms, right? Well, this is why, because that's how his language is. Okay, so, but you as an English speaker, if you want to translate it accurately, or if you want to understand it accurately, then obviously you'd say rooms, because that's how English works. Okay? Right. Then we have the third and final dialogue.
الوحدة الثالثة. السكن. الدرس 21. الحوار الثاني.
Okay.
انظر واستمع.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام. أي خدمة؟
أريد بعض الأثاث.
ماذا تريد لغرفة النوم؟
أريد سريرا وستارة.
وماذا تريد لغرفة الجلوس؟
أريد أريكة وسجادة.
وماذا تريد للمطبخ؟
أريد فرنا وثلاجة.
وماذا تريد للحمام؟
أريد سخانا ومرآة.
هل تريد شيئا آخر؟
شكرا، أريد مشاهدة الأثاث.
تفضل.
والآن جاء دورك.
ممتاز. Okay, here again, this individual, he is called al-mushtari, the person who wants to buy something. Yes, and the other one is called al-ba'i', the seller. Okay, so al-mushtari says assalamu alaikum, al-ba'i' says wa alaikum assalam, ayya khidmah, how can I help? So ayya khidmah literally translates to what service. So what's understood is what service can I give you, or how can I be of service to you, or how can I help? أريد بعض الأثاث, I want some furniture. بعض means some. Okay, so you have these words such as بعض and كل, the two opposites. بعض means some, كل means all. Okay, so بعض, I want some furniture. ماذا تريد لغرفة النوم. So here we have the ماذا that I've mentioned earlier. When it comes to verbs, we don't use ما in order to ask. We say ماذا. So if you want to know the difference between ما and ماذا, ما is used as an interrogative word if it's followed by a noun, whereas ماذا is used as an interrogative word for asking questions if it's followed by a verb. Okay, so you want to ask someone what they want, you say ماذا تريد. ماذا تريد, what do you want? لغرفة النوم, for the bedroom. For the bedroom. غرفة النوم, literally speaking, the room of sleeping. The room of sleeping. But obviously that would translate to bedroom. Okay, ماذا تريد لي. So here we have another word as well, a function word or a particle, حرف, that's really important. لي, for. لي means for. Okay, لي, the lam. Lam with kasra means for. And you're going to see it many times here in this dialogue. So ماذا تريد لغرفة النوم, what do you want for the living room? أريد سريرا وستارة, I want a bed and a curtain. Alright, وماذا تريد لغرفة الجلوس, and what do you want for the living room? So again, al-julus literally speaking means sitting. So for the room of sitting, i.e. living room. Okay, لغرفة الجلوس. أريد أريكة وسجادة. ماذا تريد للمطبخ, مطبخ means kitchen. أريد فرنا وثلاجة. I'm not going to translate the whole dialogue. Just quickly scanning if there's something new. No, there isn't. These are the new things. Okay, so بعض is a function word, a word that's used a lot, so remember it. Lam means for, and we mentioned ماذا for using for verbs. Okay, شكرا, thank you. أريد مشاهدة الأثاث. I want to see the furniture. تفضل, we've already covered that, which means welcome. Okay, and these are the words.
الدرس الحادي
So now inshallah ta'ala to recap what we've learned in terms of grammar and vocabulary. Then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a quick checkpoint, if you like, quiz on Quizlet to see how everyone's vocabulary acquisition, how it's doing, and which words everyone is struggling with. So I'm going to share a Quizlet link quickly, and we're going to go over the words inshallah ta'ala as quickly as possible. Actually, I might leave this. First, let me talk about the grammar, and then if we have time left, we'll do the vocabulary, inshallah, because time is really tight. I don't know how I fit 1 hour lecture into this every day. But yeah, we leave Quizlet for later. Let me explain a few important grammar concepts first. And again, the grammar is so deep, it's really difficult. It's really a struggle. I'll understand. Okay, so in terms of grammar, then we have first the interrogative words. We already talked about them. We took 2 new interrogative words, how much and which. Okay, so I'm not going to spend much time on that. Just remember those words when you want to ask something. In terms of verbs, then we've talked about the verb's object before, the fa'il, that it has to have a doer or someone who did the verb. We talked about the verb types being 3, ماضي مضارع and أمر. But today we need to cover this, which is quite important, which is personal pronouns as verb subjects. So the verb subject, we know it could be a noun, like for example سعيدة في المصلى تصلي, or تصلي سعيدة في المصلى. تصلي سعيدة في المصلى. سعيدة is praying in the prayer room. تصلي سعيدة. So here سعيدة is the verb's subject. It's mentioned. صح? But the verb subject doesn't always have to be mentioned. Sometimes it's a pronoun. Okay? Sometimes the pronoun that refers back to the is a pronoun that refers back to the noun that's already known. Okay? Yes, I am gonna, inshallah ta'ala, conduct a separate class for grammar, inshallah. But these are just the grammar concepts that are related to what we've done today, which I want to explain. But in those separate grammar classes, it would be structured a bit differently. I would focus more on bird's eye view, a bigger overview to explain things, as opposed to different concepts that are cut up through different units and what have you. So the way we're doing it now with the book, we're following the book structure. Not necessarily the best way to present it, but we're just following the book structure, inshallah. Okay? But with those grammar classes, inshallah, which inshallah we're going to do, is going to be more structured in a way that it's going to be structured logically, what makes the more sense, what makes most sense. Okay, so personal pronouns, so far we've done 5, right? And we're going to stick with these 5 until you got really good at them. So we have أنا, أنت, أنتِ, هو and هي. Okay? So how many of those personal pronouns as verb subjects have we come across so far? Okay? Who knows? You can answer that inshallah in Zoom. How many of these have we come across as verb subjects? Okay, someone said 2. Alright. No, it's more than that. Okay. So far, we've come across 4. Okay, the 5th one is missing. Okay, so which 4 are they? They are أنا, we said أ. So let's take the word أسكن. So أنا أسكن. Okay, we've also done the second person male. أنت تسكن. Okay, taskunu. So when you say askunu, you don't need to say ana with it. And this is the point I'm trying to make, which is that the personal pronouns are already hidden inside the verb itself. It's understood. So this hamza that we use at the beginning of the verb, it's kind of like a marker or an indication that it's for ana. That I'm talking about first person. Okay? When I say taskunu, then the ta at the beginning of the verb, it's an indication that it's either second person male or third person female, one of the two. Okay, taskunu. And finally we have yaskunu with the ya, which is for huwa, third person male. Okay, so far we've got these 4 personal pronouns that are embedded inside the verb itself. But these letters that come at the beginning of the verb, they give away which personal pronoun it is. Askunu, we hear askunu, we know it's ana. We hear taskunu, we know it's either anta or hiya. We hear yaskunu, we know it's huwa. Is that clear? And I've mentioned already there's a little overlap here when it comes to taskunu, referring to anta and hiya. And we've already explained that. So is that clear? So again, when you come across a verb that says, for example, if I were to say yashrabu, okay, if I say yashrab, is that a complete sentence, yes or no? Okay, is yashrabu a complete sentence, yes or no? Yes, yashrabu is a complete sentence. One might argue, how can it be a complete sentence, Ustad? How can it be a complete sentence when you said that every verb has to have a subject? Who did the drinking? Well, I'm going to say to you, it's already known, it's embedded. Yashrabu, there is huwa, there, embedded, hidden, known, understood, implied. They call it dhamir muqaddar. Okay? Dhamir mustatir, sorry, they call it. Dhamir mustatir is a hidden pronoun. Taqdiruhu. Okay? Which is implied as huwa. Okay? So yashrabu is a complete sentence. Tashrabu is a complete sentence. Ishrab, drink, is a complete sentence. Okay? All of these, they have their verb subjects are there, they're embedded. So even though we said that every verb has to have a subject, it doesn't mean that it has to have a separate noun that comes with it that is actually pronounced. No, it could be a pronoun. It could be a personal pronoun that's embedded within the verb itself. Okay? I hope that's clear. Okay? Bye. Finally, the last thing we're going to cover today is what we call the verb's object. Okay, and I want you to compare these 2 sentences. Okay, we have Muhammadun yusalli and we have Muhammadun yurid. What can you say about these 2 sentences? And I'm going to post that on WooClap so that everybody can partake. We haven't even posted anything on WooClap today. Wallah, it's because of the short time that we have. But I think most people are more comfortable posting on WooClap because their name is not there. So I'm just going to post it on WooClap so everybody can feel comfortable to speak their mind. So we have compared the 2 sentences. Muhammadun yurid. Okay. And Muhammadun yusalli. What can you say? What have you got to say about these 2 sentences if you were to compare them? So try to translate them and tell me, yani, what are some of the differences here? I mean, they both have a noun and they both have a verb, but there's a fundamental difference between these 2 sentences. I didn't receive any answers yet. I haven't shared it before. I've shared it. Yeah, I shared it. Let me share it again. It's up there. Sorry, those of you that are typing. Give me a moment while I post the link. Okay, there you go. One is present tense where Muhammad is praying. The other one is something he wants, which is like future. No. They're both present tense. Okay? They're both present tense. Yusalli refers to an action. Yurid refers to something internal. No. Let's not get philosophical. Grammatically, what's the difference between What's the difference between Muhammad yusalli or Muhammad yurid? One is a complete thought and one doesn't. Naam. Barakallahu feek. Ahsant. One is complete sentence. The other one is incomplete. Okay, the first is complete sentence while the second is incomplete and needs an object. Spot on. Whoever gave that answer, you've got it spot on. So basically, Muhammadun yusalli, this is a complete sentence. Muhammad is praying. Whereas Muhammadun yurid, Muhammad wants, is an incomplete sentence. There's something missing here. Okay? What does Muhammad want? If someone comes to you and says to you, I want, what are you going to say to him? Sah wala la? Someone comes to you and says to you, I want. You're going to think he's crazy, right? Or haughty or arrogant. What do you want? Sah? So here, the difference is that one is a complete sentence and one is incomplete. Okay, so what makes the second sentence, this sentence, incomplete? When both of them have a verb and they have someone who's a subject of the verb, everything is there. Sah? Well, the second one is missing an object and the first one isn't. So why is the first sentence not missing an object and the second one is? This is because verbs come in two types. There are two types of verbs. There are transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. Or in Arabic, fi'l lazim and fi'l muta'addi. It's called fi'l lazim and fi'l muta'addi. And to give you a summary, or make it simple for you, fi'l lazim is a verb that doesn't need an object. I.e., it's a verb that doesn't have to affect someone or something. It doesn't need further clarification. Muhammad is praying, khalas. Okay? I can say he's praying to Allah. I can increase the information within the sentence, but the sentence itself is a complete sentence. Muhammad is praying. I made a complete statement. Whereas those sentences that need an object, they will not be complete, or those verbs that need an object, its sentence won't be complete until the object has been mentioned. So what's meant by an object? An object basically means, it's basically what the verb affects. So if the verb has a subject or a doer, okay, it doesn't always have to be a doer, but let's just say it's a doer, صح? And then the object is the thing that it affects, or the thing that it relates to, if you like, okay? So for example, Muhammadun yurid, Muhammad wants. What does he want? That is what we would call the object. In Arabic, it's called maf'ulun bihi. It's called maf'ulun bihi. Muhammadun yuridu sitaratan. He wants a curtain. So with that, we're going to roll out the red carpet and welcome the world of i'rab. The world of i'rab. Okay? This word which is so intimidating for those of you that have done a little bit of grammar, and it might give you goosebumps, صح? But this is what Arabic grammar is all about. It's all about i'rab. And I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible to give you an understanding of what i'rab is. I can't go into detail, but I'm going to give you as short way as possible. 2 sentences. Zayd hit Khalid. Khalid hit Zayd. Okay? In English, these 2 sentences are completely different. In the first sentence, Zayd is the perpetrator, Khalid is the victim. Khalid hit Zayd, Khalid is the perpetrator, Zayd is the victim. How do we know? How do we know who did the hitting, and who got hit? In other words, how do we know the subject and the object? So the subject is the person who did the verb. Object is the person who got affected by the verb. So when we say Zayd hit Khalid, Zayd did the hitting. Khalid hit Zayd, Khalid did the hitting. How do we know in English? In English we know it because we just look at which word comes first. صح? I start with Zayd, he is the subject. I start with Khalid, he is the subject. Case closed. That's why English is called a fixed word order language. English is a fixed word order. Every word has a fixed place within the sentence. You change its place, the meaning changes. Now Arabic is not like that. Arabic is a free word order language. In Arabic, the word can be anywhere. Okay? And the meaning or its grammatical function doesn't change just because you mention this word first or that word second. So if I say in Arabic ضرب زيد خالدا, is the exact same meaning as saying ضرب خالدا زيد. It's the exact same meaning. Okay? Grammatically the same meaning. There is subtle differences, which is what gives Arabic its beauty. The fact that Arabic, the words can be rearranged, this is what gives these subtle, beautiful meanings. So when we say إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدْ, meaning you alone we worship, this meaning has been derived from the fact that we mentioned the object first. Okay? That's the whole exclusivity that we only worship Allah is derived from the fact that we mentioned the object first. You we worship, as opposed to we worship you. So just because you, إِيَّاكَ, came first, it means you alone. This is the beauty of the Arabic language. This flexibility where you can put the words wherever you like. But now a very important question comes to mind, which is, Ustad, if that's the case, how do you expect me to know the difference between the subject and the object? In English, I know the first word that is mentioned is the subject, second one is the object, fine. But if you're going to be playing around with the words and put them wherever you like, how am I going to know who did the hitting and who got hit? How am I going to know the perpetrator from the victim? Sah? Then this is where i'rab comes in. I'rab is basically the harakat we add at the end of the word. And the harakat that it has tells us its grammatical function or the grammatical case or what that word is within that sentence. So listen again. ضرب زيد خالدا, ضرب خالدا زيد. So in both sentences we have خالدا with two fathas, we have زيد with two dhammas. So this one has dhamma, this one has fatha. That's what tells us who is the perpetrator and who is the victim. So the perpetrator, which is the subject, has a dhamma. And that's what we've done so far. So you would have noticed today the introduction of something new. Now you're seeing nouns with fatha. For the first time you're seeing something like sitaratan, baytan. Okay, you might have thought to yourself, why? I mean, wasn't it like askunuf? Wasn't it baytun, sitaratun? Why the fatha? Where did the fatha come from? Now you know where the fatha came from. The fatha came there because it is an object. Uridu sitaratan. I want a curtain. So the fatha is telling you that it is the maf'ulun bihi. It is the object. Will suffice with that. That was just a quick introduction. If you ever thought to yourself, what is i'rab about? Yes, then this is a summary of i'rab. Now obviously that opens up a whole can of worms. Which vowels do we use for which grammatical functions, and if that vowel can't be used, what do we use instead, and blah, and this and that. That's basically the whole science of Nahu revolves around this. That's why Ibn Jarrum, what does he say? Al-i'rab huwa تغيير أواخر الكلم لاختلاف العوامل الداخلة عليه. He says i'rab is nothing but the differing or changing of the end of the words in terms of fatha, kasra, dhamma because of its different grammatical cases. That's what the i'rab is. Okay, and this is what gives the beauty to the Arabic language. Okay, هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد. Okay, I think it's time to go to the workshops. Any questions? Wallahi, I'll be honest. It's 1 hour, it's just too short. Wallahi, it's too short. And we didn't get time for the Quizlet, sorry. We didn't get much time for WooClap today, but inshallah ta'ala, let's go and do some practice, inshallah. Let's do our practice in the workshop, and inshallah ta'ala, we'll continue with this and some more practical examples to be sure. So for those of you that felt like today's lesson went over their heads, don't worry, inshallah. Next lesson, we'll give some more practical examples, inshallah ta'ala. Okay? Barakallahu feekum. Too much homework. Yeah. As a matter of fact, good thing you bring that up. Inshallah, the homework, if there's too much homework, please text me and we'll see. But there's something important I wanted to mention, and I'll try and be as quickly as possible. But I was working on preparing some reports. So those of you, I've given that little quiz that I've given you, which is the checkpoint quiz. The point of it is that you do it, inshallah, and then once you're done, and once all of the whole class is done and I mark it, I'm going to prepare a report for every single student, inshallah, on the premium cohort and the private mentorship cohort, a very detailed report, okay? But what I want to share with you is how are things going to be graded. So this is important. We haven't shared this before, so this is really important for you to know. So that at the end of the lesson or at the end of the course, you know exactly how you've been graded. So when it comes to all of the assignments that I'm giving, yes, and this is related to what one of the students mentioned now, too much homework. Not everything is graded, or not everything is mandatory. There are some things that I post on Google Classroom that are optional, okay? So those that are graded, the things that are graded are these sort of things. So we got two types of things that are graded. We got periodic assessments and we have weekly assignments, okay? And the main difference between these two things is that periodic assessments is about the score that you get, okay? They're like exams, tests, quizzes. Weekly assignments, I don't care what score you get. I don't care if you scored 5 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 or 2 out of 10. As long as you've attempted and you've submitted it, you'll get the mark. Okay? So what are the periodic assessments? Things like weekly quiz. I was actually going to do this, but it's up in the air now. I don't want to overdo you. But I was going to post a weekly quiz, a quick vocabulary quiz, and some of the things that we've done, right? And that one would be like 2 out of 100 marks. Yes? I'm talking about the whole course, 2 out of 100. So if you have 8 weeks, that in total will be 16 marks. Then we have quarterly test, which is like the checkpoint quiz I've just sent, which is worth 5 marks. It's going to be 4 of them in total, i.e. after every 2 units, and they're going to be 20 marks in total. Then we have the midterm exam, which is after 4 units, and when we finish the 8 units, so it's 2 of them, each is worth 20 marks. And then we have the final exam, which is worth 20 marks. So as you see, the way things have been distributed, it's not like one exam can make you fail. Like sometimes when a final exam is worth 40 marks or 60 marks, it's make or break exam. We don't have that. As long as you work hard throughout the course, and the way things have been put here is to reward you for consistency. So as long as you are consistent throughout the course, inshallah, you'll get a very high mark, inshallah. Then we have the weekly assignments. The weekly assignments, then there are 3 types. We have the pre-unit assignments, we have the midweek assignments, and the ones at the end of the unit. So those that are the ones posted on Friday, the ones from Sunday to Monday, and those from Wednesday to Thursday. Now each one of those all of those assignments put together, because there are multiple assignments, each one is worth 1 mark together, okay, as long as you submit it. Midweek, same thing, 1 mark, this one 1 mark, so that for 8 weeks is 8 marks for each. So this will give you a total of 100 marks. So when you get the report, these are the categories in the report, okay, so that you know what you need to work on, what you're good at, and what have you. Those things that are optional, not graded, such as the flashcards or the grammar skill builder exercises or the sound recognition practice or the daily expression prompts or these sort of things, like these are just, they're not graded, all right? These are what? They're optional, which means it's just extra work for those of you that have extra time, okay, that want to take things further. Okay, and there are more not graded exercises that I have in mind, which I might not post now. I don't want to intimidate anyone. But those of you that need more, just ask for it. There's more in store, inshallah. I hope that clears up a lot of things, inshallah. Any questions regarding that? Yeah, so one person said, I try to do them as soon as you send them, otherwise it becomes too much later. Yes, that is the case. It's all about consistency. If you procrastinate and you leave it a week or 2, you're going to end up with so much work to do that you can't, whatever work, the work that I give you is good for a week. Yes. If you leave it, you're going to end up with 2 weeks worth of work that you can't fit into 1 week. So make sure you're consistent. Okay. Yes. All clear. Yeah, no, the Brainscape, I haven't released that yet. But that one is for like once you master the vocabulary, it's got spaced repetition that will make sure that they go to the long term. But first we start with Quizlet, because I don't want to overdo you with too many apps. But inshallah, once we do like the midterm exam or something like that, and those vocab, you don't need to worry about it anymore. You can just revise them on Brainscape, which kind of like spaces the flashcards based on how good you know them, basically. So they're for the long term. Yes, a lot of new words to learn. Yes, wallahi. I mean, I can't stress it enough. I can't stress enough the importance of vocabulary acquisition. Make sure you work hard on that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'll see you in the workshop.